Hi, good afternoon. I thought before we just start sort of talking you through the business, I might just explain a little bit about how I've ended up doing what I do, because I mean a lot of you guys will probably gravitate towards a design job, but I think there is a very strong future for textile graduates in the production, in the technical area. It's certainly an area that I'm involved with the Weavers Company now, and it's certainly an area that James Sugden, John Hodges and I are keen to pursue. There are a lot of opportunities in that area. It's an area that the industry, certainly in Yorkshire, is quite weak on, and there's going to be opportunities for you. So I left school at 16. I managed to get through to about 16. My dad had an old weaving mill, and I used to work on a Saturday morning and on a school holiday, sweeping up, weaving, doing bits and bats. And my dad said, "Don't get into textiles, lad, there's no future in it." So I went off to work in a supermarket and lasted about 3 months and said, "No, Dad, you're wrong." So I got back into textiles, had to go and start learning a bit like Richard was saying, go and get some exams, because I didn't do particularly well at school. So I was fortunate that I found a textile company in Huddersfield that employed me. At that time, the Huddersfield Polytechnic, as it was then, was running a part-time BSc in textile technology, which was a fantastic course. Unfortunately, I was part of the last group that went through it, and that meant 2 afternoons, 2 evenings a week for 4 years, and it was fantastic at Huddersfield at that time. There was a lot of machinery, it got a really good grounding, and because I was fortunate enough to work in companies, I was allowed to get experience throughout the whole mill. I then worked in India for a year, came back and did an MBA, again at Huddersfield, 2 years, 2 nights a week. And then 2002, I met John Hodges at Pennine Weavers, joined Pennine, and we did a management buyout in 2003. So while I might look a bit older than I am, I was only 32 when we took over at Pennine. So I think if any of that last couple of minutes means anything, it means if you're prepared to work and graft in this industry, there are opportunities for you. It's not an industry where you have to wait while you're 55 or 45 to get the opportunities. If you there's an old adage that we have in Yorkshire, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I think a lot of the textile companies now really are quite progressive in wanting to progress talent through. So, opportunities are there if you're prepared to work and if you're prepared to take them. So on to about Pennine Weavers. Here we go. Who are we? As it says, we're a specialist commission weaver, producing the world's finest cloths. There's a lot of history in the mill. Those of you who will be visiting tomorrow will obviously see it. There's been weaving in our mill since 1913. So we have a lot of history, a lot of heritage, and what we're doing these days is aligning that with the most modern technology and the most modern machinery that we can. The sort of products that we're weaving at the moment is basically we're set up to weave predominantly men's suitings. So as Richard again alluded to a bit earlier, the Yorkshire, the Bradford, the Huddersfield industry is traditionally men's suits, your black, navy, grey suitings, wool and fine wools. I mean, those that are coming tomorrow will see we've actually got one of the finest wools that we've ever woven, which is a 13 micron wool weaving in loom at the moment. We've diversified the business quite considerably over the last sort of 6 or 7 years as we've put new machinery in and grown the business. So now, again, we're weaving many different types of products. We do a lot of accessories, a lot of scarves, shawls, rugs, a lot of interior work, furnishing fabrics, very much high-end niche products. That's always what the business has been sort of founded on, and the history of the business has always been high-end niche. But as I come to talk to you in a little while, we're still a volume producer. We're producing 35,000 metres a week, so it's we're the largest weaver of wool worsted fabrics in the country. All sorts of fibres. We might even see some silk weaving tomorrow. We do weave silk in Yorkshire as well, but plenty of other fibres. We do a lot of work with Lurex, cashmeres, mohairs, silks, gold. We will weave gold fibres, gold yarn as well. We're based in Yorkshire, Keighley, about 10 miles, 15 miles away from here. as it says, the home of wool and worsted textiles. Our customer base is predominantly based in West Yorkshire. We do have some customers in Scotland, in the borders and in the north of Scotland as well. But Yorkshire is the centre of the world to us. So it's an ideal place. That's where all my customers are. The finishing that Paul's going to talk to you about shortly again is very close by, so it's a good base. So Commission Weaver was established in 1969 by John Hodges, who was our current chairman, my business partner. Just important a little bit just to tell you about how we evolved and what a Commission Weaver actually is. Going back to probably the 60s and 70s, West Yorkshire, Bradford especially, was full of big vertical mills, worsted mills, where they would weave, they would spin, they would have hundreds of looms, they would often do their own finishing. But these businesses were quite big, were quite unwieldy, and were very difficult businesses to actually manage. And then the decline, and they were selling fabric, bulk fabric, what we call bulk fabric, so into the likes of M&S, into the old Leeds markets, into Hepworths, Burtons, and the precursors for Next, and exporting as well. But it was all volume. And basically, as the competition came in from the east, these businesses really became unprofitable. They had no appetite for investment. They were often publicly owned, so there was a lot of shareholders with a lot of interests that weren't particularly the right interest for the long-term benefit of the business. They were all short-term thinking. Unfortunately, these mills, Jerome's, Drummond's, Parkland, John Foster's, are all no longer with us today. What sort of came from that was the commission weaving model that John developed, and that basically is a model and it's a model that we've stayed, whilst we tinker around the edges of it, we stay pretty true to this day. And that means that as a commission weaver, our role is to take the yarn, which is the raw material, and the weaving instructions that our customer gives us, and our customer is the one who's now selling to Ralph Lauren, to Armani, to Prada, to all the Savile Row tailors. That's our end customer. They go out, they design the product, they will go and sell it, and the product then comes back to us for manufacturing. And our job as a weaver is to manufacture to their specifications, to their exact specifications, as accurately and as cost effectively as we can. And that's the business model that's really evolved out of the sort of West Yorkshire industry today. There still are a couple of vertical mills, I think, as we mentioned earlier. Those are going to go to Moons and Ainsworths tomorrow, but they're more on the woolen side. So there's nobody these days doing in a vertical worsted operation. It's all through commission manufacturers. Some people have their own weaving, but the majority is commission manufacturers and then off to commission finishing. Being a commission weaver, what that means is that we stay totally true to our beliefs, and that's all we are, is a weaver. So if one of you guys gets a job at Burberry or at Armani, you won't see Pennine Weavers fabric in there. A lot of the fabric that you will buy from West Yorkshire mills will be woven at Pennine Weavers, and from Scottish mills could be woven at Pennine Weavers, but you will not see Pennine Weavers in the marketplace. We're a commission weaver. That's what we're true to do. It allows us to stay totally focused on what we're doing, to make the best investments for the long-term benefit of our business. And I think it's the main reason why we've stayed as successful as we have and stood the test of time, really. Okay, so where are we today? As it says, we're one of the most flexible weaving plants in Europe. We're certainly the most highly invested in the UK, and probably one of in the top 2 or 3 highly invested really in the world. The investments that we've made in the last 2 or 3 years have really been aimed in flexibility in the business. We are able now to make any warp length, basically any size, from 12 metres to up to 3,000 metres. And this has allowed us to start working with some smaller, more bespoke designers, people who are wanting maybe some small, as Richard's been saying in his industry, some people who are wanting some very short runs commissioning. We can do that now. We couldn't do that until we've made the investments that we have. So the flexibility investments and the flexibility that we've put in, the main aim in our business is to give our customers no reason to go elsewhere. We never say we're the cheapest weaver, not at all. But what we're aiming to do is give a total value package of quality and service that is second to none. We can do that because we've got a pretty good workforce. It's a pretty damn good workforce, to be fair, 78 people in total. We work a 3-shift system, so again, the other thing about it is if you come into textiles, it's not an easy ride. You've got to work hard, you've got to work long hours. Most people work for me are working an average of 50 hours a week. get well rewarded for that, but that's life. It's certainly not a 9-to-5 job. We're very fortunate that, we do have a highly skilled and a very loyal workforce with a very low turnover of staff. People who join us tend to stick with us. It's hard work, but they see the benefits of that, and they see the fact that they have a long-term future as well in what we're doing. Why do we have a long-term future? Well, the main reason, I think, is the continued investment strategies that we've followed, that John started and I've followed since 2003. And those investment strategies are threefold. The first is technology, and that's machinery, and that's the easy one. That's what you see. When you come around the mill tomorrow, and you'll see us, I'm just going to show you a few videos shortly, you'll see the most modern machinery, weaving machinery that's available on the market. And okay, it's expensive, everything, we invest, vast amounts of money in the best machinery that we can. And that's the easy bit, really, buying the machinery. The second bit is investing in the systems. So we have a very detailed in-house database system, so we can be controlling. So all our customers now can see where the yarn is, where the pieces are, where we are in production, in planning. So again, systems development is very important. Systems investment is very important to us. And it plays a crucial role in the investment strategy. And the final part that, is the most important part for me is the investment in the people. 78 people, as I said earlier. Our people take immense pride in doing what we do. We weave some of the most difficult fabrics in the world in our sector. And our people take a lot of pride in the fact that we're doing that in Keighley in West Yorkshire, when a lot of people have tried and failed, and certainly other people all around the world can't do it. Training, part of that investment in your people as well is training. We have apprenticeships. We have one true apprentice, if you like, at 18, but we're also training older people in areas of the business where we might be seeing retirement in a couple of years. One of the things I'm most proud of in Pennine is that we brought the average age down when I took the business on from 54, and now the average age is 45. Now, might not seem a lot to you guys, but to us it's quite a big leap, and what it's doing is ensuring to our customers and the end customer, because we get a lot of visits from the Ralph Lauren's and the buyers from Prada and the buyers from Burberry, and it's important for them to see that you've got a young team and you've got a team and then as a business you're thinking about the future. Again, the workforce see the fact that the investments are going in, and that they then have a future, so they're not scared about we're going to get a job, we've got a job next week, next month. They see the money that we're investing in the business and they take confidence in that, and I think that's very important. Okay, so what do we do? What have I put there? Yeah, I mean, the main thing, I suppose, in our business is the fact that it is very much a short-run business. And so what that means is we're making a lot of warps, we're doing a lot of changes. That means, again, that you've got to have the systems and you've got to have the machinery that can deal with that. So all the way through the business, all the customers supply us with the yarn. In total, we have about 140 tonnes of yarn. That yarn comes from all over the world. The spinners in the UK, there's one spinner Spectrum in the UK, but the rest of it's coming from Europe, from Eastern Europe, from Asia, all over the world. Everything is barcode controlled, and real-time stock updates are available to all our customers at all times. The warping, again, show you a couple of videos in a minute. You get fed up of listening to me. But we have either single end or section warping, again, which allows us to produce the full range of warps very efficiently, very effectively. Those investments are very much driven by customers' needs. The drawing in, again, the drawing in machine that we have is a machine that's only 3 years old. It's a true world-class, state-of-the-art machine. Again, I've got a little video of that for you shortly. The looms, which is a sort of the key thing that a weaver should be talking about, I suppose. We've got 32 Dornier looms. All our looms are dobbies, so Richard's looms are all on jacquard. All our looms are dobbies. The majority of worsted looms these days are dobby looms, but we have up to 26 weaving shafts. So we can't do all the things you can do on a jacquard, but we can do a fair amount. And again, that's giving flexibility to the customers. Again, in terms of the age of the looms, the oldest loom we've got is 8 years old, the youngest is 2. So they're all the same generation. Again, that means that the technicians who work on the machines can work very efficiently, very effectively on a machine because all the machines are of the same type. The loom that we buy from Dornier, we always say there's a lot of parallels between Dornier and Pennine weavers. Neither of us are the cheapest, but what we are is the most flexible and the most versatile. And that loom, that means as a weaver, you can go from weaving some of the coarsest yarns. So some of the coarsest yarns that we weave will be, again, quotes throw some numbers at you, a single 2's mohair loop yarn, which is going to go into a throw, up to, say, the 13.5, 13.3 micron that's going to be weaving tomorrow, which will be a 2-fold 140s metric yarn. So those, from a loom, from a mechanical point of view, offer totally different demands to the weaving machine and to the operators. And again, by investing in the type of machinery that we do, it means that we can be mastering all those skills across such a very wide gambit of yarns and products. And then purchasing and quality control, inspection and QC. We spend a lot of time looking at designing quality into what we do, into part of our manufacturing process. But clearly, the weakness of being a commission weaver is that you're not weaving your own product and you're getting... John once said to me, the first thing he said, this business is a risk and reward business. So we get paid maybe 10% of the value of the finished fabric if we're lucky. So if we ruin a metre, you know, we can be out of business very quickly because we've nowhere to hide. So as a commission weaver, your quality and the control of your process is absolutely paramount. Right, okay, so this is onto the production side of things now. Let's look at the processes in a little bit more detail. This is a single end warping machine. We've got 2 of these machines. We put the first one in January 2014. We put the second one then in. We liked it so much we bought another one, and we put that in the start of this year. So what you have there is you have a rotating creel that you've just seen at the start, and that's where the yarn is. The sort of white hooded building there is where the yarn is. The yarn then is taken and is through that rotating creel is wound onto the big drum. And what he's doing here now is the warp is made. So that's your warp. That warp can be anything up to 10,000 threads. So what we're doing then is we're then taking the warp off the warping machine and putting it onto the beam. Again, those that are coming around tomorrow will spend quite a bit of time watching this process because it's a fascinating process, an exceptionally efficient way of making short-run warps. And like I said, this has certainly allowed us to increase the flexibility in the business and move the business into much shorter, more niche areas than we've ever been able to run into before, working before. The second type of warping that we have is section warping. We're using this warping to make this machinery. There's the single end warping machine we're using for warps of up to about 250 metres. For any bigger warps than this, we are using the section warping machine. Again, I don't know those of you, 5 minutes, I've been on that long. I better zoom on to this. So the section warping machine, if you just play the video, is basically you're making up your warp through, if you've a 6,000 end warp, you're making it up as it says, sectionally. So you'll have 400 ends in the creel. You can see Pam there putting the cones in the creel. So you'll make the section with, if it's 6,000 ends, you've got 400 in your keel, you make 400, 400, 400, 15 times, and then you have 6,000 ends on the blue drum here, which is what we call the Swift. Again, the technology here really is state-of-the-art technology. You'll show you in a second, I think, the robot. Yeah, so it's all a lot of robotic technology to make the laces and the section alignment. And again, this machine, we're the only people in the world that have 2 of these machines in operation, and we're warping as effectively and as efficiently as we do. Okay, so that's the warping process. No, we've gone backwards. Let's go forwards. This is then the drawing in. Again, part of our success in terms of investment has been making sure we work very closely with key machinery suppliers. This machine is a real case in point for that. We worked with the Swiss company Staubli for about 3 years, myself and the operator there, who's been doing this job all his life, to develop a new machine that would give us real added benefits and added value in the market. And from that, we took the second machine of this type in the world. The first went to Ceruti in Italy. We took the second. There are only about 15 of these machines in the world in total, even today. And basically what you're doing here is you've got the warp beam, which you can see at the back, and you have a large hook inside the unit, and it's selecting every single thread that you're going to weave. So your 6,000 threads, say, or up to 10,000 threads, you're selecting every single thread independently by a big needle, and you're threading it through a drop wire, which goes in the back of the loom, a heeled wire, which is attached to the shafts, depending on the design, and then slaying it up through the reed. So this machine does a job of drawing a warp of, say, 6,000 threads in about an hour and a quarter. Prior to this machine, if you were doing it by hand, it would probably take 2 days. We did have a mechanical machine prior to this, but it was pretty inefficient and pretty old. But again, those of you that are coming tomorrow will see in detail the machine in operation. But it really is a true world-class machine. So as I say, weaving, 32 looms. We're weaving up to about 35,000 metres a week. Just to give you a feel for that, we're doing, in terms of changes, we're doing about 110 changes a week. So it's very short run, a very short run, high value end business. To give you a feel for the numbers of that, if this was a similar mill as ours in Italy, it would be doing about 40 changes a week. In China, it would be doing about 10 changes a week. So, it's giving you an idea that our business is pretty unique worldwide in the way we set up and the way we operate. So you see the looms there in operation. That's obviously a pattern that you'll recognise. Again, this is something that we've developed over the last 4 or 5 years, the ability to weave this type of scarf and shawl. This is a weaver having to thread up an end every time. Every time a thread breaks, the weaver has to ensure it selects the correct thread to slay up properly and tie the correct end up. He's dicking up about 200 ends a day as a weaver. And if you do your job right first time, 99% of the time, you think you're doing it pretty well. He does his 99% of the time. He's taking 2 wrong ends up a shift. With 4 weavers on a shift, we're out of business in a week. So it's it's pretty salutary figures. So again, we'll zoom on from that because I'm under pressure for time. Quality control. We do have and designers. We do have 2 internal designers who work very closely with customers on all sorts of new developments. Quite fortunate we can offer technical advice to customers, new customers, if they're trying to develop new products. It's very important that they have the confidence in us to be able to offer that sort of help and that sort of advice. QC, we inspect every roll that we weave, so we're looking for any sorts of faults that we can have and that can be in there. We also have mending. We have ladies and a gentleman who mend for us. So just wrapping up, attention to detail. What are we as a business? What we're trying to do? Our customers these days demand and they expect the best, and we must surpass these expectations. We have a culture within the business of continuous improvement. That stems from the investment that we're putting in, but also from the attitude of the workforce, which again, as I said earlier, is paramount to where we go. So finally, just to finish off, what do I see as the future of weaving at Pennine Weavers? Well, we need to continue to focus on high-value products and markets. We need to continue to be innovative and work with new customers and new designers to try and look at all sorts of weaving new fibres, new products, and looking at new techniques in manufacturing. We need to be looking to add value at every opportunity. And finally, we really as a business will continue to invest in the future generations of employees to make sure that we have a long and successful future. Thanks a lot.